Hey everybody, it is time for another CPG Insiders. I'm your host Mark Young and co-host Justin Gerard.
Hello.
Hello, Justin.
Hello.
It is it's getting warm finally here
Oh,
in Detroit, but it is a rainy day today.
it is. It is. But of course, it's Michigan, so we go from, you know, the fall to this weekend. It'll be like 90 something.
Wow, will it really?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
by Monday it's going to be 97 or 99 degrees here. So
Ooh,
you know,
that
it's
sounds
Michigan.
toasty.
It's Michigan.
That sounds toasty.
If you're from here, you get it.
I'll tell you what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about I'm going to talk about the wisdom of a dear friend of mine, Dan Sullivan.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great book on this, folks. If you haven't gotten it, the book is called Who Not How. And it is written by Dan Sullivan and another dear friend of mine, Dr. Benjamin Hardy.
It's an incredible book.
And Ben's a really smart guy. And Dan is just one of the great thinkers in the world. And he is the co-founder of Strategic Coach.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever want to look that up. And it's a great entrepreneurial coaching program. I recommend it.
Amen.
And Dan, what makes Dan so unique is Dan takes the most complex of issues and boils them down to a sentence.
He has the incredible gift of simplification. It is
Yes.
remarkable. And he knows how to not only simplify problems, businesses. A lot of people have that skill. What he has the skill of is to simplify thinking. He can break down thinking and tools and simplify it to the place that now all of a sudden you can leverage the greatest, I guess, asset you have being your mind, and all of a sudden it's efficient now, right?
And I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but for Dan, any solution that takes more than one piece of paper isn't a solution.
Right. It's too complex still.
So you notice every thinking tool that Dan creates fits in one piece of paper.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it is remarkable the impact of that one piece of paper.
So Dan has a concept, which this is what the book is written about, and it's called Who Not How.
Mm-hmm.
And the simple process of what Dan has is, as entrepreneurs, we're constantly running around trying to learn how to do new things.
Yes.
So let's say that we're just getting into the CPG business. Well, how do I contact brokers, or how do I call on retailers, and how do I set my corporation up, and how do I do the taxes? And we're all running around trying to figure out how to do these things.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Dan's point is that's a mistake. And first I'm going to give you one of Dan's quotes, and that is, if you spend all your time trying to build up your weaknesses, you will eventually just be someone with really strong weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan has a concept which he calls unique ability. And unique ability is, what is that thing? Not the thing that you're good at, the thing that only you are good at.
Mm-hmm.
What is that thing that you're better at than anybody?
It's focus.
And it might be inventing this product, developing this product, formulating this product. It could be any number of things. But what is the thing that you're best at?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you spend 80% of your time doing the thing? Now, how do you surround yourself with what Dan refers to as the right who's? And this is how Dan simplifies it. As the entrepreneur, it's okay that you know the what. You should know the what.
Right.
You should know the why. You don't need to know the how.
You need to know the vision and the destination. You don't have to develop the roadmap.
Right. You need to know the who.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to expand on that. So let me give you an example of the who. So I have several businesses, and one of those businesses, we have got a lawsuit going on.
Yeah.
and have a lawsuit going on because somebody took a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
Them trying to get it back. I hired the biggest law firm in the state. He hired an 80-year-old guy who should have retired 5 years ago because he's cheap. Guess what? My law firm is bludgeoning them right now
Of course they are.
because I got the right who.
You
It also helps that
invested.
I have truth on my side. But
It
that
does.
not being said, forget about the attributes of the case. I have the best who's.
You invested in the best who's,
Correct.
and that's the
And
key.
and by the way, I'm paying way more for my who's
Of course.
in this particular case.
Of course.
But I'm going to win.
Yeah. Right. You invested in the best who's for the outcome that you're looking for because you knew what you're trying to get to, you knew where you were trying to go. Now I'm going to get the best who's to help me get there.
And these who's are these who's come in many different forms. Some of these who's are employees, some of them are contractors, some of them are your experts, some of them may be a partner or a collaborator. So I'll give you another Dan Sullivan thing. And Dan has literally taken all of us entrepreneurs and dumped us into two buckets. And one bucket he calls simplifiers, and the other bucket he calls multipliers. And it's interesting because if you look at even the most outrageous and great entrepreneurial stories in our time, you usually find there are two people.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Gates was a multiplier,
Yep.
but Paul Allen was a simplifier.
Right.
Steve Jobs was a multiplier, but Wozniak was a simplifier.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these combinations. So one of the things you need to understand, in order to get the right who's, you need to understand what who you are, because sometimes you're the who.
Right.
So what's the right kind of who that you are,
Mm-hmm.
and now what's the who's you're missing?
Absolutely. And for anybody who's trying to figure out potentially how to do that, as Mark mentioned earlier, Dan Sullivan has this concept of unique ability. He has an entire book that comes with a workbook that actually help take you on this journey to discover that, exactly what that is. If you're interested, we can always have links for that book in the show notes.
So when we look at the who's here, like I said, your who's are your brokers, your manufacturer, your ad agency, your distributor, if you have a distributor, your internal staff,
Mm-hmm.
your FDA, FTC lawyer, your business lawyer, your accountant, your banker is a who. I'm surprised. You'd be surprised how many people, Justin, and maybe you won't be surprised, how many people do not have a banking relationship.
I mean, on one end I'm surprised, on the other end I'm not, I guess.
And when I say banking relationship, not I've got a bank account at the local branch and the
Right.
manager, I kind of know the manager. I'm talking about you have a relationship with a senior officer in some banks
Right. Oh yeah.
where you've got someone who you can call up and say, I'm going to get a purchase order from Walmart. I'm going to need a couple $1 million to fund it. What do you need me to do? How do I handle that now so that I'm not coming here asking you for it after Walmart sends me the purchase order?
Generally a bad plan.
Correct. And we all think of banks when we think of even the banking community. We think of banks as, these big, giant, monolithic monstrosities that don't care about people and they just want to run us through a bunch of rings and so on and so forth. Even the biggest bank is still made up of people.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
people will go out of their way to help other people that they like.
Mm-hmm. That is a human truth.
So when you have a relationship with a banker that you have cultivated, you built a relationship, you guys have been to lunch a few times, you call them for advice on what you're doing
Right.
with your business. Now, when you do need money, you're not just going to be some guy at the door trying to ask for money.
Right.
You're my friend.
Right. Exactly.
And I want to help my friends. I always want to help my friends.
Yeah. Everybody, good people want to help
Yeah.
their friends, right? That's just normal. Well, and you talked about a little bit earlier too, right? The concept of now we're not sitting here telling you that you don't have the capacity to learn banking, to learn accounting, to learn all these things.
Oh, I
But
know how to do that stuff. You know that, but
right,
it'd be
but it's not
insane
where.
for me to do that.
But you've told you. I remember um, years ago. My gosh, it'll be 10 years next week that I've been here. Um, One of the first things that you taught me, especially as I was growing, was, you know, there's investing time and there's spending time. Understand what you're doing. Are you spending money? Are you investing in it? And when you are doing things like that are not in your unique ability, you're spending time. But when you're in that unique ability, you're investing, and you're investing the time that's going to help you scale exponentially because you're doing the thing that creates the most value. And that's the key, is you need to spend your time as much as possible doing what creates the greatest value. In the beginning, and you've talked about this, and every entrepreneur has experienced this, in the beginning when it was just you and somebody else, you had to do everything, right?
Right.
That's what you had to do. And so that's also kind of where a lot of the habits have come into play. Because you just say here, well, this is just the way that we work. But that also gets back to one of our previous concepts of 10xing and 2xing, right? All of these things come together in the same capacity. As soon as you're really starting to scale, then it's about, how do I develop the team? How do I understand what are the challenges in front of me based on the goal that I've set? Now, who can I find that knows exactly how to accomplish those things, and not only accomplish them in a greater capacity than I alone could, but then also when you create this team of these amazing individuals, now you've got these great who's together. Now they're all growing. They're sharing ideas. Their thoughts are expanding because you get that multiplication happening. That's how you grow exponentially.
And I want to tell people one great who that is probably more money than you think you have in your budget will deliver more to you than 2 or 3 mediocre employees within the budget.
You have to invest in value. You have to. There's no way
Because
around it.
the right person is not, let's say the right person costs 35% more than the average person.
Right.
The right person is not 35% better, they're a
Right.
multiple better.
Exactly. Exactly.
They're 5 times better or 10 times better, not 35% better.
And we understand that what we're talking about here, especially in that moment, that's a scary moment, right? You're looking at your financials, you're looking at where
Mm-hmm.
you want to get to, and all of a sudden you're like, this is going to be tight.
It is.
It's
It's
scary.
very frightening.
It is.
And you have this issue. We've talked about this before. One of the things that happens when you're an entrepreneur, and by the way, folks, I want you to understand we did not coordinate the black shirts with the white collars today. But anyway.
Yeah, right. I'll show the text message to everybody.
So what happens is you come up with this idea and you invent this item, and everybody says, you're going to quit your job and go do that? You've got a good job. That seems like a really bad idea. And you do it and you start to make it. And then you get it into a retailer and it's
Right.
selling. And now I'm going to go mortgage my house because I need to borrow money to put this out. That seems like a really bad idea. And then you go and do it and you win. And by the way, I've been down this entire road.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon, it's very easy to condition yourself that only your counsel is correct.
Right.
Because you kept hearing people tell you you were wrong and you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to remind you of is, go examine the people who told you they were wrong. They're probably not experts in your field.
Right. Right.
It's your wife, your husband, your neighbor, your mom and dad, your sister, brother, your best friend. They're not experts in this industry.
Right.
Now, by the way, if an expert in this industry tells you you're wrong, you need to pay attention.
Right. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're 100% right, but to your point, pay attention, listen, take in the information, understand what they're telling you and why.
Think about how many products that I've seen in the past 30 years, you've seen in the past 10. And I will tell you this, folks, this is what I do. When somebody shows me a new item, especially if they're a new company, if they show me a new item and I know in my heart and mind that this isn't viable,
Mm-hmm.
I tell them it's not viable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never fun to be Simon Cowell or to
No.
tell people their baby's ugly.
No.
And I try to do it in a kind way where I try to say, this is a really clever thing and I get why it works and I get why it worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of solved a problem that was kind of unique to you, and there's not
Right.
enough people in America that need it.
Mm-hmm.
Or your product's so overpriced that you can't sell it,
Yeah.
or you're in a category where you need to be part of a family of products and you're just one item.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a number of reasons. We try to let people down nicely. Now here's the reality. Those people go find other unscrupulous experts who tell them, oh no, this is a winner, this is great. Go mortgage your house, get me the money, blah, 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 blah. And they go broke in the process
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't listen to an expert who was trying to save them.
Mm-hmm.
So you do want to pay attention to those people.
Yes.
Now, by the way, there's always the opposite side. Michael Jordan's basketball coach told him he shouldn't play basketball.
That was a good call.
Pavarotti's singing instructor told him he should be an auto mechanic.
Right. Right.
The greatest tenor in history.
Right.
So, yes, and the Beatles were passed on. So,
Mm-hmm.
there are experts who
Who?
screw up.
Absolutely.
And when I tell someone that I think their product's wrong, as you know, I always tell them, I am only the leading authority on my own
Right.
opinion.
Fact.
I can be wrong.
Hold
but
on.
over 30 years,
I'm so
it is
happy
not-
we recorded that, people. That's all I have to say.
There you go. But over 30 years, when it comes to finding the winning and the losing products, I'm not usually wrong.
No. And
I'm
And-
right a lot more than wrong.
But and I think here's the other thing, right? That I want to make sure is said here. When we're talking about who to listen to, and we're talking to experts, the other element that you have to that I believe is very important here is make sure you're also talking to individuals that you share values with. Those are the ones you want to listen to. If you're talking, to your point earlier, Mark, if you're talking to an expert that doesn't have any integrity,
Right.
well, don't listen to them, right? So,
Or who is just trying to get money from you.
exactly. So they may be experts, but they built a business on taking a little bit of money from a lot of people. But then if you look at that profit, they do that enough that they have some winners and they experience a lot, whatever the case may be. Make sure you understand your values and make sure you understand theirs so that you know where that advice is coming from. To your point earlier, we want to help people. We want to make this world better than the way we found it, so that when we're having these conversations with clients and we're having these conversations with prospects or coming to us looking for advice, we want to help them have a better future.
So
And that's where it all comes from.
Let me tell you the expert you want to listen to. You want to listen to the expert who has tons of experience in the industry, who could potentially profit off of you,
Yep.
and is telling you, don't give me your money.
Yes.
That's credibility.
Mm-hmm.
I could take your money right now and you would give it to me, but it will fail.
Right.
You
Right.
need to listen to that person. Don't take that as, oh yeah, I'm going to prove you wrong. No, you need to listen to that person.
Absolutely. And I mean, how many conversations have we had where we've given them their advice, but at near the end of it, we said, but you can't afford to work with us today, but here's what you need to do.
Oh, yeah,
steps you need to
sometimes we do that
take
too.
to be able to afford to work with us. So do these things, and we're going to help invest in you so that you can get there one day.
Now, I've got a couple other who things I want to talk about. These are my who frustrations. It's like I'm coming from Whoville.
I knew you were going there. I just felt it, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
So, this is not Cindy Lou Who. She was my favorite of the Who's. Anyways, one of the Who's that people make a mistake of, and I've had this happen very often. So here's another Who mistake. I'm running, I've got a single or a 2 SKU brand, and I want to hire my new brand manager, vice president of sales, whatever you want to call them. And I hire somebody who worked on the Kroger account for Campbell's Soup.
Right.
Because, wow, this guy was at Campbell's Soup.
It's a big name.
This guy handled Kroger for Campbell's Soup. This guy handled 12 feet of shelf space.
Right. He obviously has the experience you need and the knowledge you need, right?
So he's got to know how to deal with retailers.
Yeah.
There's a really good chance he doesn't. And I'm not picking on Campbell's Soup. I'm just using him as an example. So I'm not talking about a specific person, maybe. So here's the problem. The Campbell's Soup guy, or whoever it is,
Right.
is a category captain.
Mm-hmm.
Campbell's Soup controls 8 to 12 feet of shelf space.
Right. They get to tell the buyer what to do.
When Campbell's Soup decides, you know what, we don't think tomato rice soup is selling that well, we've created tomato bisque.
Right.
They don't have to ask.
No.
They just get rid of Campbell's Soup, tomato and rice, and they put in tomato bisque.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're controlling the category.
Yes.
So all they're doing is informing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now, I go to work for this, startup new soup company,
right,
who's got 2 flavors on the shelf. All of a sudden, this person does not know what it takes to beg for shelf space.
Right.
Well, why wouldn't you give me shelf space? Because you're not at Campbell's Soup anymore.
Right. They don't know how to create the leverage. They were used to having it.
So a very dear friend of mine was the executive vice president of marketing for the Chrysler Corporation years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the guy who put Lee Iacocca on TV.
Okay.
That was his idea.
Nice.
The company was in trouble. He was literally right next to Lee.
Yeah.
And said, we need to put you on TV. We need the credibility of you coming out and just saying, I promise you these are going to be the best cars you ever had.
Right.
So when he was in the business, Les Moonves would come to see him in person, chairman of the board of CBS.
Right.
All of these Redstone, all these guys would personally fly in to visit him. He told me this. He goes, the day after I retired from Chrysler to start another business, he goes, they all forgot my name.
New phone. Who dis?
And part of that is the case when you hire the who.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've got the category captain from, Heinz Ketchup.
Well, yeah. They know how to operate in that world.
Right. And who is that?
Right.
Because you don't mean anything to me now.
No. And again, if they were going to go, to your point, from Campbell's Soup to Heinz Ketchup, that might be a good move because they're used to working in that environment, in the big corporate space. They have that experience, right?
That's a lateral move that makes sense.
That makes sense. But like you said, coming down into the world that we live in here, understanding how to actually negotiate with buyers and work with them and create leverage, they don't understand. They don't know how to all of a sudden work with advertising budgets that would be rounding errors for them. So they don't know how to maximize those dollars to be effective because they're not used to it.
Right. So to have been working on the Kellogg account,
yeah,
and now to go to work for a company that came up with a with two flavors of a low carb cereal
Right.
is not the same thing.
No. And they're also used to having access to all of this data, right? Nielsen and IRI. And so now all of a sudden the data gets to help make their decisions, almost drive all of their decisions for them because they can fall back on it and say, well, here's the information. Well, I'm sorry, but do you have $1 million a year to invest in data? No, you don't. So now they all of a sudden they have to leverage and use, for lack of a better term, experience and muscles that they just don't have.
Yeah, nobody puts up an argument when Kellogg says we've got another cereal.
No, not at all.
One, we make millions with you.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you do the plan. And three, we trust that you have the advertising budget to sell the new cereal.
Exactly.
You don't need to prove your success to us.
No.
So let's talk about another frustrating who. The next frustrating who is I'm going to hire my niece, son, cousin, whatever, my mother's neighbor's cousin's roommate, whatever the relationship is, and let's make them the marketing manager.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all you marketing managers, I'm not attacking anybody individually, but there are a lot of people that get put in the marketing seat in this industry because I need to employ my relative and I don't have another spot for them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's put them there.
Yeah.
Okay. This is probably one of, if not the most critical spot in the company, one of the most critical spots in the company, which requires someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Yes.
Or, in contrast, someone who knows they do not know what they're doing and is willing to let the who's guide the marketing.
Right. Right.
So someone who understands this isn't me, but we have the right who. Now I'm going to be the interface to the who and help the who's get it done. Okay, that can work.
Absolutely. I mean, what do we tell every single client that we have, especially when we are working with CMOs and brand managers? First thing we say is, we are here to make you look good. Okay? It's our job.
So I'm on the board of directors of an organization. I'm not going to give the name out
Mm-hmm.
for this purpose. I was in a meeting yesterday, and the organization had the new marketing manager present a marketing plan to the board of directors. I shredded this poor guy.
Oh, I'm sure you were nice about it.
I was, but when we were done and he was out of the room, I literally told the rest of the board that person shouldn't be here.
But that's your job.
Correct. I'm on this board because you want my expertise.
Exactly.
So they presented a marketing plan, and I mean, I asked this poor person questions that anyone should have been able to answer, because I was talking about how are we measuring outcomes,
Mm-hmm.
and there were no means of understanding if the money to be spent would ever work.
So then how do you even put a plan together if you have no way of quantifying it?
Because we were going to raise brand awareness.
Oh boy. So how much brand awareness can you deposit in your bank account, Mark? Just curious.
Well, first off, I asked the question, show me how to do brand awareness without spending about $40 million. Because if you think you're going to become a brand,
Yeah.
let me see the budget. Coca-Cola, the number one known brand in the world, the most recognizable brand in the world, spent $5.01 billion last year in advertising.
That's billion with a B.
And they are already the most recognized brand on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And they still spent $5 billion. So my question on this was, we will build brand along the way, but we need to know that every dollar results in income.
Mm-hmm.
Show me how you're going to know that. That's because they put somebody in the spot who worked at another company, and this person had a slice of a job, not the top job. That's the other thing I'm warning you about. When you hire somebody from a bigger organization, they're not who's, they're how's.
Right.
So they have a tendency to give everything to other people, except in a small company, there's no other people.
Yeah, you can't delegate it to yourself because you're the only one.
So they're not used to having to crunch the numbers and find the data and make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
This is the problem. Now, back to where I'm saying about hiring family. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, I've in my life, I've actually had the time where I paid relatives to not come in the office.
Mm-hmm.
I literally said, you know what? I'm going to give you a check every week because you're my family and you need help. Here's a check every week. Don't come in.
Yeah.
Because I did have them come in and it was just chaos.
Right.
So as entrepreneurs, we all want to help people. We all want to hire family. And then we make the mistake of we hire the family and we get it in our head that we're going to figure out how to make them provide value.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the problem comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm paying them, so I'm gonna make sure I find a job someplace where they can provide value. Here's the better answer. Just go build a giant freaking company where you can afford to give somebody a paycheck and not worry about it.
Right.
Go get the right who's, and you'll be able to just pay your mom to stay home.
Absolutely.
Or your niece, or whatever the case is.
Whatever the case is. And if you're truly, if you truly want to invest in these people, then you can provide them with some, we'll call it funds, to give them the comfort to discover who they are and where their unique ability is, but just forcing them into a position just because I got to get something out of this deal, it hurts your company and it hurts them. And that's not what you want.
And the place that in our industry, the place everybody puts them is either in marketing or sales.
Always.
And you don't want them there.
No. Hey, they know use social media. I'll put them in marketing. No, that's not how it works.
Now, let me talk about one more kind of who here, if I can. The other who is sometimes the right who ceases to be the right who.
Interesting.
So I'm going to kind of quote Einstein. He seemed like a smart guy.
Yeah.
And it was Einstein who, I'm paraphrasing, who said the thinking who got us to the problem won't be the thinking that solves the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as entrepreneurs, most of us are good people. And most of us really appreciate loyalty. And especially those people who were with us when the thing started and everybody was doing everything. And you not only did sales calls, but you emptied the trash cans and you did whatever had to be done. And we want to reward that loyalty. But sometimes the new company has outgrown that person's capabilities because their capabilities have not expanded at the rate the company has expanded.
Yeah.
Or, and this is so common in entrepreneurial CPG companies, no one in the company has ever had a company this big.
Right. So what do you do?
So sometimes you've got to go outside and bring some people in. And one of the guys I think that is really good at this is Jeff Bezos. Now, I have issues with Bezos in many ways. I have political issues with him. I have issues on the predatory nature of sometimes how Amazon functions.
Yeah.
But I do not have an issue with Bezos' ability to build an integrated organization.
He's the best.
He has been a master.
Yeah.
I mean, now he owns his own trucking. He owns his own airplanes. I mean, amazing. Bezos His model for building business is that your company should always be designed, you should be building the company based on the next level of growth.
Yeah.
So if you're running a company with 2 people, you should be building your systems and your infrastructure to be a company of 12 to 20.
Yeah.
If you're running a 12 to 20 company, you should be building your infrastructure to be a company that can have 100 or 120.
Yeah.
Because if you're chasing the business model and you're chasing the controls, then you're always going to be losing money and you're always going to be behind on everything.
Yep.
So this is part of what happens. Now, am I advocating take people that have been loyalty and done a great job and done wonderful things for you and kick them to the curb? Hopefully not.
Right. It's not what you're saying.
But it does happen sometimes.
Well, sometimes you have to, right? But also what you've talked about many times before too is sometimes it's about hiring above that person. So then now they have still the space to grow and provide value to the company, but you filled the need of the company to scale above. So what it comes down to is providing the correct environment for growth. That means the individuals, that means the company, that means everything, right?
But some people won't let you hire above them.
Right. And so that's kind of where I was getting to is if you have an individual and you've talked about it, they've been loyal, they've been grinding, right? But they don't have that awareness and understanding of why the company needs to make these decisions, and they don't see this as an opportunity for growth and a challenge that I'm willing to accept, then actually that's the hardest decision you have to make, which is probably we have to let them go, and it's probably going to be the best thing for them because they need to understand that the more you see, the less the less you know, the freer you are. Because there's always more to know, there's always more growth to have, and everything that happens in life is an opportunity for growth. Nothing is good or bad. It's really always good. So that is an opportunity. Take it. Take advantage of it. Right? Prove what you can do.
Yeah, an example of this is years back, a business we had that my wife ran went from about we'll call it 3 million to 30 million in about 24 months.
Yeah, that's aggressive and painful growth.
The person who was the sales manager, who was a great sales manager for a $3 million company,
Yeah.
could not manage the size of the sales staff that it took to do 30 million.
Yeah, it's massive.
Because it took 6 times more people,
Yeah.
and the volume was 10 times more volume.
And the role changes.
And the role changed. And could not accept the notion of you could be the assistant sales manager, but we need to bring someone in who knows how to do a $50 million
Right.
business.
Right.
Not even the 30. We need to bring somebody in who can drive 40 or 50 now.
Right. Because that's where we're going.
And that person blew up and went crazy and called names, and it was a very ugly departure.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Oddly enough, I will tell you that I ran into that person years later, and they found a job at a smaller shop, and they were happy.
See? Exactly. But it doesn't make it any easier, as you said, on you.
Because he did get back into a place where he was the right guy, where he was the right who.
He was providing the value, and you as the entrepreneur and the owner, like you said, you have to look at it as you're doing what's best for everyone involved. You have to step away from that piece of you that thinks, oh, but they've been so good to us and loyal, and look at everything that they did, and they grinded, and all those are admirable things, right? But as that person, their next stage of growth, you know what the right answer is to help them get there. It's up to them to choose it.
So the last thing I'm going to leave you with is another piece of wisdom from Dan Sullivan. And it kind of goes in line with this. It's on this time when we're saying we outgrew a person, it was time to move on. By the time that you know that there's an employee in your organization that should be let go, the rest of your entire team has already known it for 90 days plus.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
By the time you get there,
Yeah.
they've already known it.
Yes. It's very evident.
And they're going to watch the leadership.
Yeah. Yes.
So are there people who get to do nothing? Are there people who, are sacred cows? Are there people who can be bad performers? And if they can be bad performers, why can't I be a bad performer?
Mm-hmm.
Because why do I do twice as much work as this person, and this person gets more money than me?
Right.
And I do more work.
Yep.
So that's probably, by the way, it's probably the hardest thing to me. The most difficult part of running a business is when you have to let people go.
It is.
And especially when they're good people.
Yes.
They're otherwise good humans.
Yeah.
And you have to call them in your office and turn their life upside down.
Yep. Yes.
And I've done it many, many times. You've done it.
Yes. It is the worst.
That's horrible,
the worst
isn't
part
it?
of the job.
Don't you just dread the whole day when you know it, the whole week when you know it?
I hate it. I hate it more than anything else. And, as much as you want to, when this is happening, let the person know that you care for them and we're here and whatever you need after this we want what's best for you. That's not, you don't really get that experience most of the time. And it's the worst thing because we're here to help. We love helping people. We love building things and making bigger futures. And so in those moments where in the short term it feels like we're doing the opposite, or that's how the person feels, because all of a sudden their life's turned upside down, it's difficult.
Now, have you ever fired somebody that you looked forward to firing them?
No. I've never done that before.
I've done it once.
Right.
One time.
I know. You've told me the story. You've told me that story. You told me the story.
And the person was only here for 10 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was no relationship built. There was no loyalty built. The person was an extreme train wreck from the first couple of days. And he probably only made 10 days because I think he took 3 or 4 days off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he'd have been fired even sooner. But
yeah.
And even at that, it's not like, boy, I really want to go destroy this guy's life.
No.
This is one of those things of, wow, this is not what we bargained for, and this is a really bad situation, and I just need to get him out of my building because he's disturbing so many other people.
Right.
So at this point, it was like, yes, I'm eager to get rid of him because he's so disruptive.
Right. We have to save the rest.
When you do hire in a small company, and when I say small company, even 50, 60 employees is still a small company.
Yeah.
Every person you hire changes the personality of the organization.
Yeah, it impacts the dynamic.
Yes, you're adding in another sliver of personality that will impact all the other personalities.
Right. Yeah.
Which is why, it's why we do things like Colby scores and strength finders and profiling and cultural fits and things of that nature. Because you could go out and find the perfect who, and the perfect who could ruin the company. I'll give you one other example, and that is sales. Over the past in other businesses, we've had salespeople who were the absolute freaking machine of sales.
Right.
Where they could outsell everybody else in the company 3-1.
Yeah.
So you have a tendency to want to hang on to these people. And if they're a cultural fit, absolutely.
Right.
But we've had occasions where the superstar was so disruptive to the rest of the organization that getting rid of the superstar let the rest of the organization rise up and compensate for the superstar being gone. Because the superstar was that disruptive to the company.
Right.
So who's are really difficult? I want to close this, Justin, with recommending everybody. Go look up the book. It's called Who, Not How. by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. And you can get it on an audio or paperback or hardback, but I don't know what it's $10-20.
Yep.
I highly recommend it. And while you're there, I would look at the other 3 books in that trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 books in a trilogy: Who Not How, 10X is Easier Than 2X, and Gap in the Game.
Yeah, they're both amazing. All 3 of them are amazing books.
So I would highly recommend people go do all of those. And we should bring Dan or Ben on here soon.
Yes. Yeah.
And we'll talk about these books and a new book that is coming up soon from Ben.
Oh, yeah.
Which you and I have had the opportunity to read, which is absolutely brilliant.
It is. If there's one book that is going to literally change your business, it's that book.
It's the one that's coming up. We're not going to tell you what it is because Ben doesn't want us to disclose it yet until it hits the market. But when it does, we'll make sure that everybody knows about the book and get a copy of it. But yeah, it is a, I hate to use these terms, but it is a game changer.
Yes, it is.
For a lot of organizations.
It truly is.
So that's it for today, folks. If you like today's podcast, make sure you go to wherever you get your podcast, leave us a 5-star review. If you're not subscribed, hit the little subscribe button. And as always, you can always get in touch with Justin or I. You can go to jekyllhydelabs.com or you can go to cpginsiders.com. And I'll remind people, you can now talk to Virtual Mark.
That is correct.
Is that on all the websites?
I believe so, yeah.
So hit the little talk to button, and you will get to talk to a virtual version of me. This does not mean you can't talk to the real me. But if you do just want to go ask virtual me a bunch of marketing questions or business questions, you can go there. And it's pretty amazing, actually, isn't it? It's
pretty close. We've uploaded every piece of content in there. So,
yeah, it's surprising how well it can answer questions.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm actually trying to figure out if I can rig it so that when my wife and kids text me, Virtual Mark will just kick in.
Talk about who, not how. Am I right?
Right.
See?
Think about that. They won't even know who they're talking to.
Full circle.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for today, folks. We'll see you on the next episode of CPG Insiders. If you're looking to greatly increase sales on your CPG product, don't hesitate to contact us at Jekyll & Hyde Advertising and Marketing. By the way, the only advertising agency with a guaranteed result. Just go to jekyllhydeagency.com or feel free to give us a call at 800-500-4210.